A lot of people have been using the notepads.
I like that angle better.
Yeah.
JC. I like that angle better.
That one?
Further, less.
You look good right there. Look at that. Both of y'all look good. Good luck.
I look good about it.
Steph like, I know about y'all.
I look good.
Well, hold on. How do I look? Let me activate the.
Oh yeah, put that one on. He's got his own little...
Oh, you can't see me on the corner on your screen. Like I'm on the lower corner here, like the guy behind the curtain.
Yeah.
Well, guys, what do you think about it? Awesome.
This is so cool.
Right? The whole
Heck
setup.
Just have at it.
This is the vision I have.
Share
for-
your wealth, share your knowledge, share everything about now and going into the new year. Seriously, like I said, Mark, we pride ourselves on bringing professionals that give great advice.
Fancy.
Yeah, this is super awesome.
Sweet.
It does happen. All right, ladies and gentlemen.
I mean, I have literally.
Oh, I'm nervous.
You'll be fine. You're gonna realize.
Just
Oh
wait
wow,
till-
that's it. We're done.
You're nervous, but we've already started.
Oh my god.
We're already 6.5 minutes into recording.
That's right.
Great.
JC, if you're
All right,
ready,
Mark,
let's go ahead and
good.
count us down.
AJ, good. Steph, good. All four, good. All right, Mark, here we go. Key Factors Podcast Real Estate AF coming at you in 3, 2, 1.
And welcome back to another episode of Key Factors Podcast Real Estate AF, where the AF stands for And Finance, and I'm your host, Mark Jones, and we are powered by ReviewMyMortgage.com, the largest index of mortgage programs in the nation. And guys, we've been giving you a lot of great guests, a lot of great information about the future, what we believe is going to be taking place in real estate in the next 4 years, mostly local in San Antonio. But as we lead into that, we can't forget the simple things that are most of the time overlooked by us producers, which is business planning. So today I brought along two guests that you may or may not be familiar with, but they're going to join me in this conversation talking about business planning, and hopefully you get plenty out of it. As always, please make sure to like and subscribe, share with a friend if you like what you're hearing. We are now at 15.8 thousand subscribers and climbing. So somehow, some way, you guys are tuning in. I like to say we're making mortgage and real estate sexy again. So without further ado, I want to introduce my guests. First, I've got AJ Regattas. What's up, dude?
How's it going, man? Thank you for having me again.
Absolutely. And then I've got Stephanie. Help me pronounce your last name.
Aguillon.
Aguillon.
Yes.
See, I can say it right.
Yeah, you did good.
And that one's for the raza. So
That's it. I remember that song.
Yes.
That goes back. That goes real back.
So, guys, today, first off, I want to give you a moment to kind of tell us about yourself. Yep. AJ, you've been on here before, but if you could just kick us off.
Absolutely.
Who are you?
Yeah. AJ Regattas, been in business or real estate for 14 years now. Opened up a brokerage 2 months from now will be 4 years. And just more on the leadership role of helping the agents putting out fires and doing business.
Yes, sir.
So, yes, sir.
Good deal. And Stephanie, tell us about yourself, ma'am. I want you to take a little bit longer than AJ did. He's been on here before. And this, ladies and gentlemen, is her first podcast. So big round of applause for that.
Thank you, AJ, for bringing me on. Yeah, so Stephanie Aguillon, I got into the business, you want the full-blown
Let's go.
drawdown?
That's right.
Okay, so I got in the business 5 years ago in November. So my family has lived in San Antonio for the past 15 years.
Okay.
And I just moved to San Antonio 5 years ago in November. I just hit 5 years. And my brother has actually been in the business now for just as much as AJ, 15 years. Yeah. Right? That's your And so I came to San Antonio. I was going through a divorce, a separation. I left my ex back where we're from. It's a little baby town called Hereford, Texas.
So your exes still live in Texas.
Yes. Yeah. So it's the beef capital of the world, Hereford, Texas. And there's literally more cows than there are people.
Wow.
Well, that is actually, I think, a fact.
It is a fact.
There's more cows. You want to know another fun fact?
Is it really?
Yeah.
It's
You want to know another fun fact? And I did the research. This is the stupidest thing, but I'm going to say it anyway. Cows moo with accents.
You're lying.
I'm not
So there's
joking.
like a Texas moo.
They're all around the world.
Wow.
I'm not
my
joking. When you
God.
guys
Dude, you're
get
going to
a
make me go
chance,
in a rabbit hole now on YouTube later on.
everybody will. Go ahead and fact check me on that, guys. When you get a chance, jump into YouTube and type in cows that have accents, etc., and you'll get what I'm talking about.
Well, you do have access to ChatGPT. You
That
know?
too.
There
that
you
too.
go.
Yeah. But yeah, Stephanie, please
That
continue.
is hilarious. I did not know that. But yeah, so I moved over here. Came with my immediate family, mom, dad, brother, and my brother had been in the business for a long time. I was very heartbroken, depressed, like just all the emotions you can think of. I came out of a 13-year relationship with my ex, and so it was really challenging time for me. I didn't know what I wanted to do. I didn't have no goals of anything whatsoever aside from just like surviving my day-to-day life. And so
I love this.
Yeah.
Life's in shambles, and she was like, "I'm gonna
Get
go
in
to
real
real
estate.
estate."
Similar, man.
God, my
think it's a
brother
thing.
didn't make it seem like it was going to be that big of a deal. He was just like, no, sister, you'll be great. So like the first 4 months that I was in San Antonio, I was lost. I didn't know I got a job at a bank because I was at a bank back home.
Okay.
And so my ex ended up getting this girl pregnant,
Oh.
and that was right in the middle of COVID. I was in a box, essentially, I felt like, at a bank because we were deemed essential, so we had to work.
Yeah.
And so nobody was going to the banks. It was dead silent. And I'm looking at this computer all day long for 9 hours a day, just thinking about my life and like, gosh, what am I doing here? What am I doing here? And so my brother, I might even get emotional because he's like my rock, right? Like this dude is just, sister, what do you need? What do you need from me in order for you to take this leap? He's like, I will literally pay you what you're getting paid at the bank so you can quit your job and go full force and get your license. He's
That's
like,
strong.
yeah, he's like, you're stuck, you're sad, like this is gonna change your life. I promise you're gonna be so good at it, you're gonna love it. So I was just like, at that point, desperate. And so I was like, I took a leap of faith and I said, all right, brother, if you can pay me what I'm getting paid, I will do it. And sure enough, he paid me for the first 6 weeks that I was getting my license. It took me 6 weeks to get it.
Okay.
I dove head first into it. And so our first deal that we got, he gave it to me essentially. So my brother would feed me my leads when I first got into
Sure.
business. I was very fortunate, blessed, all the things. And
Well, I don't like the comment that he gave it to you. At some point in your relationship with your brother, you earned that respect to be able to have that, because I can tell you, being friends with, having different circles of top producers, we don't give anybody shit. just so you know, he trusted you or entrusted in you that you would at least do the best that you possibly could.
yeah.
Just so you know.
Absolutely. Thank you for saying that. You're absolutely right. And so he told me when we first had that first transaction, he said, okay, sister, he's like, when you're ready, he's like, I'll continue to pay you on a salary, however you need, whatever works for you, essentially is what he
Sure.
told me. He's like, but when you're ready to go commission-based, let me know and we'll do the switch.
Yeah.
And so our first, surprisingly enough, like our first transaction together was a $1.5 million listing. And it was a big check. It was 25% of that is what he gave me. And I was like, dang, like
You're like, it's like that, huh?
Luxury agent.
it was absolutely insane. And so I was like, okay, brother, I'm good. Like, take me off of the paycheck. Like, I got this. Like, I was so hyped when I got into it. Like, I started with Keller Williams Heritage.
Okay.
So that's where he was at the time. And you have to go through what's called Ignite.
Yeah.
And it's a 6 weeks training that you go through. You have to go through these courses.
Who was your coach?
So there was
Or
a bunch of
series of
different
coaches?
agents. Yeah.
Yeah.
Gosh, there were so many of them. Brad Burns
It's
is
cool, dude.
Awesome.
the
Yeah.
one that actually, like, he lit a fire up my butt when I heard him talk.
No
Okay.
wonder why you're a cold caller.
Exactly.
Brad Burns is
absolutely.
a big time cold caller.
Yes. And so I heard him one day, like, on all of them were great. Like, the panelists for Ignite was just awesome. Like, I learned so much from them. And but when I heard him, I was like, oh my gosh, mind blown, right? So
Sure.
at the time he was doing FISBOs.
Okay.
And so I remember running to my brother and I was like, dude, have you ever done it? He's, oh, sister, like, I've done everything under the sun with real estate, right? And he was just like, but I'm not focused on that right now, blah, blah. I was like, no, brother, please, like, let's just do it. And he was
Yeah.
just like, you know what, sis, like, if you're excited about it, you're pumped, let's do it. And I have like a ton of energy when I'm excited about something. So I'm just like, like, all right, let's do it. So
We couldn't tell.
Dude, that's all the time.
That's
too.
awesome.
24/7.
Yes.
yeah, so I was super hyped. I was like, yeah, brother, let's do it. And so we got a script. We used his script, Brad Burns' script.
Okay.
And he's like, all right, I'm only going to do this for an hour. Like, we'll get it, and then you can start your own whatever. With that first hour, the second call that picked up was that listing, and we went through the script, got it. They interviewed 5 other agents to do it, and we ended up getting picked, like siblings. I don't know. They loved us. And so we got the listing, and I was just like, dang, this is so crazy. Like, I was hooked. I was hooked on the cause from day one.
That's awesome.
So that's been essentially what my business has been like since I got into the business, and then I've implemented other things. But yeah, so.
Which I'm going to go as far as to say that this market chatter that we're hearing about from the masses, being that it's a tough market, rates are high, there's no buyers, there's no sellers, etc. I don't think that that's phasing you because you were kind of cut from a cloth of grinding to get your business.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because we've got a lot of folks out there, as we already know, it's like 78% of realtors, almost 80% of realtors fail after their first year. And then that number only increases second and third year. So you've already made it past that and have a great mentor by your side. And it leads me to being able to open up the conversation now to business planning. When you got into the business, and I'm going to start with AJ. First, let's ask this question, get it out of the way, and I'll answer it first. Have you completed your 2025 business plan? Me? No, I have not. Not yet.
Yes.
You have.
Yes.
Complete, signed, till delivered.
Yes.
Love it.
Yes.
Okay. Stephanie?
I'm in the middle of it.
Okay.
I've gone pretty far in it, actually.
Okay.
So, yeah.
That's good.
So the reason why I asked that is most end up doing it around the 15th of December or so. They give themselves that leeway of let me plan, let me go back and look at what happened this year, et cetera, and then they complete their business plan. And I say most very liberally because it's really not most that even do a business plan.
Yeah.
That's just factual. When I first got into the business, I went and I was talking to the loan officers today in our meeting. I don't think I had a business plan until my 4th year into the business. I was running and gunning and just banking on my pure talent and energy and all of the things. And I told him I just kissed every hand and shook every baby or something like that. And the idea was you can only do that for so long.
Absolutely.
Until you realize, okay, I still want to grow, but I have no idea how to do it when I only have 24 hours in a day.
Yeah.
And now fast forward, I do a simple business plan for every single one of my businesses, and it's religious. It's something that we have to live by. So going down this first rabbit hole of business planning, I want to ask how you guys feel about business planning and how essential it is to your business in that case.
Is it fun? No. I personally don't enjoy it when I do it, but it's a necessity, right? It's something that has to be done. And for me, at least it's on a bigger scale.
Sure.
It's not so much of, oh, how many homes am I going to sell next year, right? And so I understand and identify that it's something that has to be done early on, which is why, because I'll be honest, I didn't start business planning even when I was in production until about my 4th, maybe going into my 5th year of real estate.
Yeah, right around the same time I did.
Yeah.
'Cause at a certain point, it's
Same.
like, okay, I'm still getting the volume coming in because of all the shaking and moving that we're doing and shaking hands and all the things. But then it's like, oh, wow, that person that is relying on me to continue to produce, I've got to continue to do that. But wait, where's the time?
Yeah. Yeah.
What did I do? It's tough. Go ahead.
It's gotten a lot easier now that I transition over with the brokerage. It's gotten a lot easier now because year 1, year 2 are the blueprint, right?
Yeah.
And so with year 1, it's like, okay, I'm not going to do that again and be careful with that. I lost money on that. And so it's being able to identify what went wrong and how do we attack it this year in the first quarter, right? Like I always talk about with the agents on record every year for the brokerage, January is our worst month.
Yeah.
And so I think I was a little bit more stern with that message back in, I want to say in September
As soon as I got here.
Yeah, I was pretty stern. So every now and then, I think that was her first meeting she sat in too. Every now and then, I get fired up with our Monday meetings where it turns into like almost like a grill session. I'm not pointing out and calling anyone directly,
Right.
but it's just I get very passionate.
Absolutely.
And so I was talking in September about, every January, this is what our January looks like, and it's unacceptable, and we can't do this, and we shouldn't be taking vacations in November and December. And so, man, I'll tell you, I'm really looking forward to January with that being said, because we've had a lot of agents that haven't let off the gas pedal.
I love that.
And this is the first time with the brokerage that I've seen that in October, November, December, where it's like, I'm very optimistic about how January is going to turn out because, the office hasn't been as quiet as it normally is.
And you, given the seat and perspective on the bus at this point, can start to see, and you probably have already, but can see kind of writing on the wall, the tall tale signs of, okay, it's not in the production, it's in the activities that are taking place that can lead to this. And matter of fact, if it continues, it will lead to this.
Yeah.
So what I'd love to, before I ask, how about you, Stephanie? What are your thoughts on goal setting and building a business plan for yourself?
Yeah. So same. I'm going into my 5th year, and I did one last year, but I didn't take it as seriously. I kind of just brushed it under the rug. And like this year, it's like, all right, it's kind of like what you said, like just thinking back, okay, like how long can I keep going like this?
Correct.
Like, yes, the grind is there, and I'm at the office Monday through Friday, 8 a.m. Like I'm on it. But I'm like, I don't want to continue to do this. And like, when's my next deal? When am I going to get this next? Like, I need a plan. I need to visualize what's going on so I can make more or do more with my time and just everything, right? So I think it's very important. And this is the first year I can say wholeheartedly, like I'm actually invested into getting my business plan up and running. And
awesome.
I even asked AJ a week ago, maybe like, I want to sit down, like let's sit down with me so you can help me do this because I want to do it right.
Yeah.
Well, hopefully from this discussion, you'll be able to take some stuff back and incorporate it in the business plan that you've already started and will complete. But I want to start with the idea of balance. We talked about this on a previous episode recently with Jeff, Ronnie, and we had Gilly here.
Good
and people. Great. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And they shared transparently, and we all kind of came to the conclusion that this idea of balance in the current state or journey or chapter or season that we're in our lives is a bunch of bullshit. And that's the God honest truth. Yeah. It's about priorities and where you want to fit those priorities into the accomplishments that you want. And there's going to be some things that are not necessarily going to go by the wayside, but that will be neglected. Sacrifice is a great way to put that. Yeah. What are your thoughts on that? I mean, do you still believe in balance?
For me, I find it very challenging to balance everything just because like I'm single with no kids. And so I'm like, what else am I going to do with my time if I'm not grinding it out, So for me,
I'm glad you said it.
Yeah. Like I just think like no one's going to do it for me. And I want to live a life like worth living, right? Like I want to take vacations. I want to buy a bigger house. I want to do all these things and no one's going to do it for me. So I'm just like constantly thinking real estate. I got to do more. I got to do more. I got to do more. And so to balance it would be very awesome. Cause like, so I can have like, okay, Steph, you can like turn it off now.
Right.
You can go see a movie and not think of whatever else you have going on. Like you can take that trip and not be anxious to get home because you got to go back to work.
Right.
So that's kind of where I'm at with it.
Yeah. And my idea of balance that has been echoed and mirrored by others is I am working towards balance, but I don't deserve balance because I haven't done what I needed to do just yet in order to have it. Now, like everybody has different goals. There are plenty of folks that work W-2, hourly wage, that, hey, you leave work and you get to turn it off. We don't have that, and I'm not going to say it is a luxury because it's the life that we chose, right?
Yeah.
And we choose it coherently to be able to go, okay, I know that I'm not going to be able to do this so that I can do this. It's the idea of doing what others won't do so that you can do what others
they won't
can't
be able
do,
to do.
can't do later. That's right.
Yeah.
So what I'd kind of like to do is maybe shape almost an outline of what we believe goes into a business plan. Now, we're not talking an elaborate business plan because truly you can go down rabbit holes and you can analyze and overanalyze everything within your business that eventually will lead to a simple business plan. But there's got to be some key points within your business that you need to focus on. And the first thing, what would you imagine? What do you guys think is the first thing? It's not a wrong or right. It's just we're all going to try and come up with something. What is the first thing that we think we should focus on when creating a business plan?
I would say the clear answer is GCI, starting with your GCI. What's your GCI goal?
Okay.
Right? Because I think from there, you'll be able to build down where like the roadmap, right? That's your starting point. And,
Give us the acronym. What is the GCI?
I'm sorry. Gross commission income.
There you go.
So your gross income. So starting with your GCI, what's your goal for the year, right? Then breaking it down. Okay, so what's my average based off of this year? What's my average commission check on a closing? Okay, so how many commission checks am I going to have to equate to hit that goal, right? And then it goes down from there.
Okay.
But I would say that's going to be probably your seed that you need to plant and figure out first. I hear agents, will say, "Oh, I want to sell 100 homes this year," and it's like, okay, but if you did 10 homes, how are we going to get you to 100?
Right.
Where is that going to come from? Like, what's going to change? What are you coming across money that you're now going to be able to invest into buy leads or whatever it may be, right?
Right.
So, so helping them trying to understand like that clear picture of it's one thing to say, I want to make that.
Yep.
How are we going to get to that though?
And I think you said what I wrote down just in a different way. Clear goes with it, but it's the vision. You've got to have a clear expectation of what you want to take place by the end of this cycle, whether it's a quarter, a year, 4 years, what have you. Yeah. And in order to do that, what are some factors that you would greatly consider doing research on that we have available to us all if we did what we were supposed to already without even knowing it? What are some, what is the one thing, what is the best way to predict the future?
Gosh, track your habits.
Okay, absolutely. And then what is that called that you're looking back on?
I don't know. I'm just thinking back to because where AJ pointed out to go and get what's your goal? How much do you want to net that year? So I did it very opposite this year. So it's always been, okay, I want to net this much. This is what I want to net. And I do my plan off of that. This year I did a little bit differently. I bought a house 2 years ago.
Congrats.
And I have all these expenses that I need to pay to survive.
Right.
And then, so I actually got all my bank statements and I checked to see, okay, where are my averages in the month? What am I spending this month? Where is it going toward? Which part of this is going towards my business? Which part of this is going towards my personal side? And I see, okay, I spend a lot of money. And how much of this, so this is what I need to survive.
Yep.
How much do I want in order to live the life that I want to live?
Okay.
So now I can say, okay, well, I have this much. This is what I need to make. I need to make it. And then this is what I want. And then I combine that. And this is what my goal is for the year. I want to pay these things off, do whatever I'm going to do. But this is what I need to make to live the life that I want to live.
So would you say that a clear indicator of setting your goals, creating your vision, your outcomes would be based off of history? Mm-hmm. See what I'm saying there?
P&L too.
There you go. Yeah. So the best predictor of the future is looking back at the history of what you've done, the activities that you've done, the expenses that you've had to be able to gauge what my next year's goal is going to be. So for example, like AJ was saying, you've got an agent that wants to do 100 transactions. Well, you did 10 last year. So are we being realistic on that? Or what are you using to gauge this 100 on? Because typically we kind of go back to last year and what we did to go, all right, I need to ratchet that up by at least 25% because that's called growth.
Yeah.
but how do I get there? And what you're talking about is the things that go into that. So yes, you are on the money, in my opinion, on the next phase, which is looking back at history to determine, okay, what worked, what didn't work, what do I need to change? So that being the case, I want to pause right there and ask you guys, based on 2024, great for some people, not for others, mediocre for many others, and good enough for others. What types of things do you think you will incorporate, let go of, like technology? Will you incorporate more technology? Will you incorporate some of the basics? What are some things that work for you in 2024? You know what? AJ.
Share with AJ.
So I think that, or not, I think mortgage.
Boom.
What for the brokerage moving forward for 2025, looking at 2024's P&Ls, and then gauging each quarter how we did, taking into consideration what was our net on agent growth, on production, putting that all into factors and then incorporating it going into, for instance, the first quarter of the year. It's going to be more about doubling down on what we're already doing as a company.
I like that.
And then not only that, but also being more cautious on the agents that we bring on board.
Very good.
I was a new agent at one point too, so I get it. And I don't want to say that this is referencing anyone in our brokerage right now, but I've noticed that that I've had to adjust the questions that I ask, or the type of questions that I ask in a sit down with an agent that's thinking about joining the brokerage, and then determining also, are they the right fit for us?
Great question.
And like, I'll be honest, man, and I'm going in a rabbit hole about
That's
this right
okay.
now, but one of the things that I've adjusted this year on when I sit down with an agent is always asking them, have you interviewed other brokerages? And because I'll tell you, man, 9 out of 10 times by the time I'm done with them, they're like, okay, I'm ready to join.
Yeah.
And I usually tell them now, not usually, I do tell them now.
That was a mini flex, everybody.
No, it's just,
He's got that mouthpiece.
it's just that I lay it all out there, and I'm like, this is what it is. And I'll even tell them straight up, like, I'll be honest with you, I'm not going to follow up with you.
Yeah.
This is what it is. If you like it, great. If you feel you're a better fit somewhere else, great, good luck. And we wish you the best, but for me, I don't do follow-ups with agents. And kind of tying into that, the reason why I don't do that is because I don't want to feel like I had to persuade someone to join the brokerage.
Absolutely.
I will say I am that confident in knowing what we bring to the table as a company.
In regards to value. Absolutely.
Exactly, when it comes to the value proposition. So at that point, when we've laid it all out there and they maybe still don't see it, that's okay. It doesn't mean that they're wrong.
That's right.
It just means that maybe we're not that niche that they're looking for, and that's okay too. But what I was getting back, pointed to kind of answer your question, is the adjustment I've made is at the end, if they haven't interviewed other brokerages, I'd tell them, go and interview a few others, at least 3 others.
Yeah.
And if you still feel like we're the best fit, then great. We'd love to have you.
And
but
that's
it would
a
make
smart
me feel
move.
better.
Absolutely. It's
It
a
would make
smart
me feel
move
better.
because what it does is it brings all of the doubt to the forefront. There is no, man, I woulda, coulda, shoulda. No, go do it now.
Exactly.
Go do it now.
And I'll tell you, man, our retention with our seasoned agents is amazing.
That's awesome.
It's a bulk of our brokerage.
Sure.
I would say the year, 2 to, we got agents 20 plus years,
Yeah.
the bulk of our brokerage is seasoned agents. But I would say at least 1/3 is new agents fresh out of school.
Absolutely.
So yeah.
Okay. Now, how about you? Anything that you would add, remove from your business that you experienced in 2024 thus far?
I would definitely add, what I'm planning to incorporate in 2025 is really owning in on my SOI. So
Okay.
my sphere of influence.
right.
And so that's big, because as I looked over this past year, a lot of my business came from referrals. And so in my head, I'm thinking like, shoot, I'm on the cause. I'm calling expireds, visibles, like that's what I do. And when I look back, I'm just like, dang, I have a lot of referrals. Like, how can I make this into next year's
That's
to
right.
where I'm feeding into the people who are actually giving me referrals. So that's definitely something that I plan to implement in 2025 that I didn't. I love on everybody just in general, which is why I feel like I get my referrals, but I want to do, excuse me, I want to do it better.
Yeah, more
I want to be
intentional.
elite. Yeah, very intentional about doing that.
That's very good. No, absolutely. So thus far, we've got in our outline, we start with our vision, what you want or what you expect out of this next year and the challenges, et cetera. But you want to have a clear and concise, realistic, yet a little bold. And the reason why I say bold is if your goal doesn't scare you a tiny bit, you're probably sandbagging or underselling yourself, setting yourself up for success when, we want to be successful, but we also want to be pushed a little bit. And the only people that can push us is our mentors and most importantly, ourselves, right? The next thing is we're utilizing history to gauge all of these tasks, incorporated things, things that we're letting go of, things that we're trying to do next year that we didn't do in this year. So the next thing, in my opinion, that we consider is the outside forces. What type of outside forces that you're not in control of that could come about? You can only kind of gauge so much of that, but there are some things that you can go, okay, I can probably not step on that landmine because I foresee this happening. Things like the market, we can't gauge it. It is what it is. We were talking about it earlier in the meeting, and it was like, okay, I want to predict the market. Well, you are the best predictor because it's determined based on the things that you do each day, no matter what the market is. We've got plenty of realtors, lenders leaving the business because it's tough. Good. For us folks that stick around and know how to get down to business, back to the basics, focus on our business plans, we're all saying hooray to that, to be honest.
Well, and I'll just say that's why, like, man, I stopped going to the annual forecasts like years ago. Because, and don't get me wrong, I'm not walking around in the office parading like, oh, don't go to that. We have agents, especially our newer agents. Of course. They get excited about that when it comes up. And I know there's a lot of effort that's put into that event. So I don't want to, down talk on what our board, our board for San Antonio does. But at the same time, it's like, dude, I've been in this business long enough. I don't need you to tell me what my business is going to look like next year. Absolutely. Like, you don't know me. You don't know my work ethic. You don't know my people's work ethic. We control the market, regardless of who's in office, regardless of, what Joe Schmo with the degree in economics has to say.
Right. So, that's right. And you know what? Economics, sometimes they're right, sometimes they're wrong. At the end of the day, it's a guess based on statistics and whatever the data that they have at the time. But it goes back to kind of what we were talking about in my office earlier. The agents being newer into the industry have to experience that on their own to determine if that is something that they get value out of or not. Some may go to mix and mingle and show their face. Some may go to listen to the data. Most of the time people are on their phones anyway. So social media reels, it's like, did you hear what he said? But look, I'm here.
What's funny though, man, is I have a habit of getting on our agents, and especially our newer agents. And I say it straight up, man. Like, I'm like, look, we're not a brokerage that's looking for a head count, right? Like, I'm not looking for First Choice to be the biggest brokerage in town. That's not my goal, right? So with that being said, if you're just,
that goal is clear and concise.
And I tell them, look, like, if you're just looking somewhere to park your license, you can go to
Any
XYZ. Yeah. Like, they're the ones that'll brag about how many agents they have.
I like that you used XYZ.
Gotta be careful because I always get stuck. I always get crap from my friends and these other brokerages. But
even I caught it.
but with that being said, I will say, like, I am the type that likes to hold my people accountable, and I love to be held accountable.
Absolutely.
I let my people hold me accountable.
Yes, sir.
But at the same time, it's like, I've scared away agents that have joined us, brand new agents that have joined us, where I'll be like, dude, we've had 6 trainings in the past 2 weeks. You haven't been to any of them, but you're at a freaking luxury open house mixer. Like, get your ass over here to the office, you know, and then they get, you know, like no one wants to be micromanaged, especially brand new agents. And so then they end up taking off. I'm like, cool, we don't need you then.
But how true is that statement right there? I mean, same thing with loan officers.
Yeah.
It's like, guys, my first year, I went to all the mixers. We went to all of
We
the
all went
things.
through it.
Absolutely.
We all went through it.
And then you realize, wait a minute, that's the same group that was at the last mixer. And then they start coming out with technology, and you can look up the number, and you go, well, wait a minute, why aren't they doing any business? It's because they're at all the mixers. Whoa.
They're a great socialite.
Absolutely, yeah. So engaging that piece, we have to look at not only the outside forces, but the challenges that took place in the prior year.
For sure.
What are some challenges that you guys went through in 2024? And it doesn't have to be that you're going to incorporate, etc. Just want to talk about some challenges that you had.
Dang. What are some challenges that I have?
The NAR settlement was a little challenge.
Yeah.
Not as big as we thought it would be.
Correct.
It was a little challenge.
It definitely was. Having that conversation with my new buyers was a little bit different. But other than that, like, I guess that's probably the biggest challenge I had this year. It ties back into like what y'all are talking about. Like, we can't dictate what the market's going to do. We can only dictate what we are.
That's right.
What we're doing. And last year, this is like my record year.
I love it. Yes.
And so everybody talks about like going like the brokerages and this and that or the other. And I'm just like, the brokerage doesn't make you. What you put in on a daily, like you said, is what's going to make you, if you're going to make it in this business or not.
Yep.
Right.
So being that this was your best year thus far, I want to ask a question. This is super side note from what we're discussing here, but a tiny inclination of a prediction that I have. I would go as far as to say that you're helping a ton of people that could not qualify or could not get into a house from 2020, 2021, 2022. Is that pretty accurate?
Yeah.
And the reason why I say that is the high rates, the higher prices, this payment affordability, all that stuff is coming from people that have already purchased and would love to purchase a new, but they're using all these other things as excuses when it's just the mindset of, I need to adjust my payment expectations.
Yep.
I need to adjust my budget expectations. Whereas the folks that through 2020, through 2022, could not throw their hat in the ring with all the frenzy that was
They were
going
just
on.
watching everybody.
They were like, man, all this stuff is happening. I wish I could qualify. Maybe at the time they were working on their credit, filing their taxes the right way, whatever the case may be. Right now, they're the folks that need the most help and are willing to take the help to get into the home. And it doesn't have to be the home of their dreams. They want to start building some equity.
Yeah.
They get that concept. Would you agree?
Yeah. I wholeheartedly agree with that.
Very cool. Yeah. Okay. Well, confirmation.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's just like what I said, like a big chunk of my business this year was referrals. And it's people who have had problems or whatever in the past that
Pipeline.
My pipeline.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Is what it was.
And being that I have jumped back into production, that's what I'm seeing. We used to have kind of a rule, unsaid, spoken trend. It's 80-20, and a lot of people use the 80-20 rule for many things, but in this case, it's 80% of your deal should be clean, go through, no problems. 20% you're going to have to drag that son of a gun across the finish line. In my opinion, the last year, almost 2 years, it's flipped. About 80% of the deals, we're having to drag them across the finish line. And it's not that they're unwilling, it's just tough situations. Borrower's credit, income snags, all kinds of things. Now, mind you, there are still deals that, hey, they fly through, but they're few and far in between right now because those folks, they probably already purchased or they're scaring themselves out of purchasing, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Okay, so back to the business planning side of things. I've got some things to throw up here. Boop, boop, boop. Let me go through this right quick. You know what? Before I do that, let me show you guys this thing here. Let's see if I can pull it up. Yep, right here. Boop. There it is. Let's make it bigger. Boom. So I listen to Patrick Bet David, PBD podcast, quite often. I think he's a badass.
His voice just keeps me tuned in,
Absolutely,
bro.
man. Absolutely. And I'm like, ooh, he pronounced that funny. But the idea is he is in my opinion, a business legend. And he's on the rise still. And he himself believes in a business plan every year and turns it into a simple business plan. Well, I watched his last one, Planning for 2025, business planning, and see, these are the steps that he's putting on here in regards to what you should focus on. So I'm just going to run through these and we'll talk about some of them. The first one he talks about is alliances. And what he means by that, and it is followed up with a statement of the following. You are one relationship away from changing your life.
I believe that.
And that is so impactful if you've ever experienced it.
Yeah.
Because, like, for example, back in the day, AJ and I used to do business together, running and gunning. I met him at a Chili's. It was like, holy cow.
Dang, that's cool.
And you never knew what was going to happen in that interaction that day in meeting him, meeting me, meeting him, to be honest. It's just like that with anything. You never know when that next handshake, that person that you meet is going to add so much value to your business and your life that, holy cow, now all these other doors are opening up. So taking that into consideration, focusing on some alliances that you could seek out within the industry, and it doesn't have to be competitors. It doesn't have to be friends. For example, for you, an alliance is with AJ.
Yeah.
Would you agree?
Yeah.
So you depend upon him to continue to provide the trainings, to be there to back you up when certain things happen, et cetera. And the next one is enable. What things are we being enabled by that are allowing us to do what we need to do? Whether that, my example, kids. I've got 2 of them. Luckily, I've got an awesome wife that's able to do a lot of the stuff with the kids to keep this thing going. Now, mind you, she's, I don't know, freak of nature. She's running marathons, taking care of the kids, running an insurance business, and still doing real estate. So can women run the world? Absolutely. Absolutely. Just not that one. Okay, so sequencing, I'm going to skip that. Urgency. Urgency is something that I think we overlook because we think everything can be done in stride when it has a lot to do with our priorities.
Yeah.
The phrase that comes to mind when I talk about this is, I hear it all the time. You're too busy. You're too busy. Do you get that ever?
In my personal life.
Absolutely.
But not with my family. I prioritize.
That's the word I was looking for is, no, I'm not too busy. I prioritize.
I absolutely love that word. When it came into flourishing in my life, I was like, dang, it really does mean a lot. Like, where are your priorities?
That's right.
Right? Like, you're gonna do what your priority is.
What is most important to move the needle to accomplish these goals, because in these, you've got your action items that you can do, your tasks that need to be done, and the frequency in which they need to be done in order to hit those outcomes. But that outcome being more times than not a monetary goal that we need to hit, you've got to have some prioritization to go along with it, or else you're just flying by the seat of your pants again, right?
For sure.
So going through this, I think the most important one on here is this next one, self-awareness. A lot of folks are in denial, lying to themselves, faking the funk, whatever you want to call it. But I think the more EQ you can have, and this is not something that's inherent, it is developed as time goes on. The more interactions you have, the more shit that hits the fan, you're able to kind of go, oh, wow, I didn't think I could get through that, but I did. Now I'm a bit stronger because of it. That teaches you a lot about yourself.
Yeah.
And then it goes into the realistic expectations that you set for yourself in setting those goals. How are you going to go from 10 to 100? You're not very self-aware, are you? I mean, you can say that straight up, right?
Yeah.
Ultra proactive. I'll skip that one. New ways of thinking. This is kind of along the lines of what we were talking about a moment ago of incorporating new things or seeing what wasn't working, what was working, and doubling down. And also looking at things from different lenses. Yeah. Perspective is huge when it comes to building your business plan, because if you're just utilizing your lens, you're going to miss a lot of holes.
Yeah.
So I recommend anyone out there that will complete a business plan, have your mentor, have your coach, have your friend that will give you honest feedback, review it.
Yeah.
So that you've got somebody, like you said, not necessarily an accountability partner, but somebody that can check you. Yeah. Somebody that can say, hey, you think that's realistic? You're really going to get that much business from one open house per week? That's it? Okay, cool. That's kind of the new way of thinking. Yeah. Wartime and peacetime, I'll skip that. Pivot and adjustments. This I want to hone in shortly, because there's a lot of folks out there that will make these business plans and they will adjust their goals. Mm-hmm. Or they'll make the business plan, and like you said in the beginning, so thank you for being honest, you make your business plan and that's that. You don't even look back at it. I did it. It's in my head. I know what I need to hit, etc. But you're not, I guess, being attentive to the fact that there are adjustments that need to be made along the way to continue to reach those goals.
Yeah.
I mean, have you guys had to make any kind of adjustments throughout?
So I was actually chatting with her about this last week. So one thing that I do with a lot of our top producers in the office, they all have their own individual office.
Sure.
So I have a habit of just popping in there, and I'll just be like, I have an idea, my ADHD, right?
Yeah.
So I'm like, hey guys, why don't we try this? And what about doing this? And she'll be on a call, and I'm like, I'm just pacing, waiting for her to get off of her, because she cold calls all the time. So I'm just like patient, like I'm listening to her call, I'm waiting, and then I'm like, okay, so this is what I was going to share with you. Yeah. But one of the things that I was saying was, so kind of touching on what you're talking about right now, as long as the goals are realistic, right? We were talking about the 10 to 100, but if they're realistic goals, then what about if we, instead of changing our goals every quarter, what about instead of changing our goals every quarter, we adjust how we're going to achieve those goals, right?
Okay.
And so what I mean by that is the thing that I was talking to her about yesterday, or last week and yesterday, I brought it up in the meeting, was, like she mentioned, she's referral based, right? If we're referral based and let's say your goal is 30 transactions for the year, right? If we're going to identify that our strong side is referral base, we also need to go even further and figure out with those referrals, where are they coming from specifically, right? Are they current client referrals? Are they past client referrals? Are they personal friend referrals? Are they your VIP list sending you referrals? Because again, if my goal is to do 15 transactions every quarter, after that first quarter, I need to be sitting down and analyzing. How did the first quarter go? If I'm on pace, or if I'm exceeding my pace, and I'm tracking all my referrals and where they're specifically coming from, well, maybe now I get to focus on my weakness. Maybe my weakness is my personal friends. They're not sending me that many referrals this quarter. I need to double down on that. But let's say at the end of that first quarter, if I haven't hit goal, or if I'm behind on that goal, then I need to double down on what my strengths are.
Yes.
If my strengths are current client referrals, then I need to double down on that to get to my goal, so I can get back on pace.
That's right.
And so, I think it's just more of, again, as long as you're setting realistic, achievable goals, maybe not changing the goal, but changing what you're doing to hit that goal.
I love it. Absolutely. Yes, absolutely. Yeah. In addition, I'll add to it. Increasing or adjusting the frequency in which you do it. And the data itself tells you which one you should focus on to be able to adjust. I'm going to ask you a question, Stephanie. You're referral based.
Yeah.
Why are you referral based at this point in your career?
Gosh.
If you don't know, I'll tell you.
My relationships with my clients at the end of the day. Like,
oh, yeah?
Yeah. You want to tell me what
it wasn't that you busted your ass to meet with a bunch of people and make those phone calls and burn up the phones to establish that book of business, that referral base. Because a lot of folks will say, yeah, I'm referral base. Okay, but you're still not producing at the level that you want to be. So therefore, did you really build your referral base large enough, i.e. do enough needle moving activities, the tasks up front that establish that referral based business. You don't jump into the business and go, I'm going to sell every freaking cousin, aunt, uncle, brother, sister, notice the sphere that I'm talking about, a home, including friends. It's not possible.
Yeah.
Here's a nugget for you guys, and I say it all the time, so this is the time to say it. If we only did business with the people that we knew, we'd all be broke.
Yeah.
Just so you know.
And I had to grind it out. Like, I didn't know anybody here.
That's the point that I'm making.
Exactly. Like, I was doing all the activities. Like you said, it's crazy that you'd say that, because I'm like, dang, like, it's true. Like, a lot of my referrals are from past clients that I worked throughout these past 4 years to get. And how did I get them? Open houses, cold calling, door knocking, like all of the things that, you know, the basics of real estate. But yeah, it's crazy. You're absolutely
I'm
right.
still living on my referral business right now.
Yeah.
I haven't had the time, unfortunately, to get back out there and shake new hands with agents.
Yeah.
Back in the day, I would have already met you type concept.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
But it goes to show that I put in the legwork up front, just like you did, to be able to only 5 years into the business say, I'm referral based.
Yeah.
Oh, then you must have busted your ass.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's what that tells me.
Well, what's really neat too is I get to see firsthand in the office with a lot of the agents. A lot of our agents are referral based, and getting to see individually with their personality, their characteristics, their behavior patterns, their, you know, just who they are as people, right? And being able to identify, like, there's no secret as to why that person's referral based.
Amen.
You know, her too. Like, she's very passionate.
Yeah, I can
her
tell.
And I have even.
I love it.
It was funny because her and I have known each other for years.
Yeah.
And even then, before she came onto the brokerage, she was already working at our office, hanging out at our office. And she had asked, and I was like, yeah, of course, as long as you don't recruit agents, like, I'm good with
through
it.
osmosis right there.
Yeah. But then she came on board, and I know we had a little bit of a headbutt on a specific scenario. And I was just like, dang, man, the first thing that stood out to me is, like, she's so passionate about her people, about
That's
taking
awesome.
care of her people.
Yep.
And I know it sounds very cliche, but that's not the reality for most real estate agents.
You're correct.
You know, but the reality for most real estate agents, especially in this type of environment, is I just got to survive. I just got to. So it becomes transactional.
That's right.
Versus, no, I want to do the right thing because I care about these people.
And I'm glad you mentioned that, because on the lending side, we've been seeing a lot of that from the agents. And it's not necessarily all the agent's fault, because if you haven't done business planning, if you haven't busted your ass to understand that it's really not the market, it's me.
Yeah.
You do tend to lean towards a transactional way of doing business because you're just trying to survive at this point.
For sure.
It's tough. I understand it. Don't get me wrong. But at a certain point, that individual lending side, real estate side, you're going to have to kind of stick your heels in the ground, create you a business plan, start tracking your activities, start tracking where your lead sources are coming from, put it into a business plan, and then make adjustments.
For sure. Every year so far with the brokerage, it's been growth. Whether it be headcount, whether it be volume, whether it be units sold, whether it be revenue, like every year has been growth.
Yeah.
So to say, like, oh man, and we were chatting about it earlier, you know, it's been a challenging year. It has been a challenging year. I can acknowledge that.
Yeah.
Are we experiencing that as a company? Not so much.
Right.
I might be seeing it in individual agents, but a lot of our agents like her are having their best year ever.
That's
you know?
awesome.
And so it's hard to say, oh, this market is tough and this is a tough year, and it's a challenging year, but it's not tough, or it's not a failure for everybody. You're not chalking it up as an L for everybody. You
Correct.
know? So yeah.
No, that's a great observation, especially from a mentor that is in the business. And a lot of times we get so caught up in the business that we don't notice things like that. And it's like constant grind, when at this point, it's still grind, but I appreciate you. I appreciate you for continuing to do the things that it took to get you here.
For sure.
And I think that's being overlooked in our market is the idea. I've had tons of experts on this podcast, and a lot of the same conversations are had, and especially about this market, tend to lead back towards we're going back to the basics. But when you talk to a newer agent, they never even had time to establish what the basics were. It was like, next. And now it's like, hey, guys, got to go back to the basics. And they go, yeah. What are the basics?
Well, you know what's really cool too? Another little metric that I started paying attention to that I've been monitoring is, again, going back to the brokerage, our first year, the rookie of the year, what their volume looked like versus every year after that, what that rookie of the year has looked like for the company. And it's like, man, every year that thing's gone up. And
awesome.
And it's like these, I can't say, oh, we're recruiting talent, because these are all first year agents that I'm referring to that win this award in the company. And I'm just like, man, even this year, our rookie, or it's a battle right now. We got 2 agents that are battling it out for rookie of the year. And they know of each other right away.
Yeah.
Like they know of each other, and they're constantly texting, like, so how am I looking? How close are we? And it's like, I can't tell you anymore. But to see where their mind is at.
Yes, sir.
Is completely different than what you see from a normal first year agent.
Correct.
You know, their mind isn't, oh, the market, or oh, it's tough, or their mind is, I'm working on my next deal. I'm going to go get my next deal. I'm going to do this. And I'm just like, okay, I see you.
Yeah, they left the excuses at the door.
Yes. Yes.
One thing I want to challenge you to do, and I don't know if they're going to watch this or not, or listen to this, because we are on Spotify, Apple Podcast, all the others. I was handed something that is still on my desk today. I don't know if you knew this or not, but one of my older mentors, the first year in the business, I was about 6 months in, old John Garbo. So if you're out there, John, shout out. Walked in my office and he slapped a brass number 2 on my desk. Bow. And they told me about the Lion and the Gazelle, talking about you're either going to wake up every morning and be chased, or you're going to be chasing someone, right? And that number 2 is so significant because it's just about a mindset. Yeah. You think you're the best, guess what? There's always somebody better. Yeah. So if you are the leader, well, you've got nobody to chase, and it begins to kind of give you this false reality of, I'm going to be the best until somebody passes you up. Why? Because they were number 2. Yeah. So my challenge to you is to get them something that reminds them that, hey, no matter what, you're still number 2.
It's so funny you say that, because even with our top agents, they're the ones that I tend to hold the most accountable.
Of course, yeah.
And what I love is they accept that. They embrace that, right? But I was just chatting with one of my producers yesterday, and I told her, I was like, finally, you're going to get recognized for Agent of the Month. This is her first time this year, you know? And she's just like, oh, it's okay. I'm pretty sure I got Agent of the Year, you know, in the bag. And I'm like, don't be so confident. I was like, don't be so confident, because we just brought on some fresh talent that's looking really good. And she's just like, really? Well, what is their numbers looking like? I'm like, I can't tell you that. That's none of your, you know, you'll find out, you know? And so, but you're right. For me, one of the I don't want to say challenges, but things that I also look at, there's so many things on the spectrum that I'm checking out, paying attention to, is where can I get that next talent acquisition? You know, like, who's going to be that next talent with the right mindset that I can bring into this brokerage to help continue leveling up our producers that we have.
That's right.
You know, I don't want them to get settled or content with where they're at. And I need to continue to keep making sure that we're seeking, I don't want to say recruiting, but just trying to discover or spotlight that next talent opportunity.
That's right.
That we can bring in.
And Jeff Garza, a good friend, have him on the podcast always. And he mentioned something that resonated, and it was, you never know who the next rock star is going to be. It's hard to judge everything from an interview. Like you say, you interview them, you say, hey, go interview other people.
You know, after 30 days of them being with you.
Yeah.
I know.
but he's saying that, no, he doesn't take everybody, but there is a level of, we got to give them a shot. Yeah. Because they could damn well be the next rock star that you didn't know it, and maybe they don't interview well or what have you, and they've got this outstanding work ethic or this stockpile of leads and referral part. You don't know. Yeah. And to those listening out there, you could be the next rock star. I mean, it really is about your actions and what you do in order to lay the foundation for what the future looks like.
Yeah, for sure. For sure, absolutely. I agree with
that. So back to this business planning. We've got, starting with the income goal. I always say, give me 2 personal, 2 business. One needs to have a dollar amount attached to it. Okay. We do that based on history, data that we have available. And then you're looking at your outside forces. You're looking at the things that you can incorporate. What are you going to double down on? That kind of stuff. And then it kind of goes into this road of what activities can I define as needle moving activities, critical success factors, money making moves. You can call them whatever you want to call them, but they're tasks that I need to do daily, weekly, multiple times, etc., in order for this number that I put on the board to make sense.
Yeah.
Right. And that has a lot to do with what you were talking about in the beginning of reverse engineering. When I was younger, and like I said, I did not get into business planning until my 4th year in the business. It was like, okay, I've got to do something. And when I met with my coach, she introduced the focus funnel and we went through that. And that helped me determine what things that I do that need to be done, what can be delegated, what can be automated, what can be just eliminated from my process altogether. But it was something that came natural to me because when I was younger, I was the guy that when I was young, I would take the remote control car and take it apart.
No. Okay.
And then put it back together. But I took it apart because I wanted to see how it worked. Like, how the heck is this thing, like, really this wire here connects with, and oh, there's the mechanics, and wait, I can pop that wheel off and on concept. And it's almost the same thing that you have to do with your business. You've got this number on the board that's hopefully 25% more than the last year's number. If not, then you've got a reason as to why it's not. But you've got to reverse engineer it. For sure. You've got to back into that number. How did you get to the previous year? If it's your first year, then by all means, I totally get it. It's tough to create a business plan on hopes and prayers.
Yeah, especially because you don't know what your strengths and weaknesses are just yet. So,
good point. Yeah. So when doing this, Stephanie, what did you determine are some tasks that you need to do? We'll call them non-negotiables. I've got to do these in order for me to even get close to my goal.
I'm going to say going into like 2025, like a non-negotiable that I have to implement this year is tracking my numbers. Like that is so crucial in my business. Like how many conversations do I have to have in order to meet my goals? And am I having these conversations on a daily basis? And literally tracking it daily. And then looking back at the week, like, where are my numbers at? And how many do I have to have by the end of the week? Like, oh, I didn't. And there's a saying, what you erase, you must replace.
Ooh.
And so if I didn't hit my numbers for Monday and Tuesday, well, shit, guess what? Now you got to do it on Wednesday and Thursday. And now you got to double down. Like tracking it is just, it's so important in the business. So I think that would be something that I would do. And obviously like the regular, I treat my business as a 8 to 5 type of job. Like I want to be on the clock at 8 a.m.
Yeah.
And I get to the office like at 7:30, 7, like
and you hear her.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I'm at the office super early. I want to make sure that I'm settled. So I'm hopping on the calls right at 8 a.m. And I do that for the hours that I'm going to prospect. And then whatever else I have coming up next, then I do that. But that's a daily activity. That's just, it's a non-negotiable for me.
So safe to say, non-negotiable is get to the office on time, no matter what.
No matter what. Yeah.
Right? And then within that time that you're at the office, what are some tasks that you do, or AJ, what are some tasks that you coach the agents on to do to be successful in this business?
Well, I haven't done it recently, so I don't want to say something that I'd be lying about. But I know what I would do is just remind them of that schedule blocking. Right? So like, for instance, our people that like to make calls in the morning, there's about maybe 5, 6 of y'all now in the office early making calls. And so it's just coming down to that schedule blocking to make sure like, hey, for the next 2 hours, I'm not taking any calls. I'm just making calls. I'm not responding to emails. I'm just making calls. That's right. So that you can get that part out of the way. And then the rest of your day is follow-ups, emails, whatever, putting out fires, whatever it may be.
And I agree with that. That's something that a lot of folks talk about, time blocking, but they don't tend to actually do it because they haven't figured out what we're time blocking for. I know I've got a time block to make calls, but when I'm making those calls, how many calls do I need to make? And that's kind of what you're trying to figure out here as you roll into this next chapter of your career, is tracking those things and going, okay, now that I've made 10 calls, my goal was 12, but I've already got this done. I've already gotten a hold of this amount of people. Well, are you going to sell yourself short, or are you going to knock those calls out so that you can go, I can truly gauge that this 12 amount of calls per day is going to feed me for X amount, what have you. Yeah. Does that make sense?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So the tasks and I am a firm believer that once you come up with your tasks, your non-negotiables for the year, that is what's going to help allow you to set your calendar. We were talking about scheduling and time blocking and calendar earlier today, and it's like, how can you create the perfect week if you don't know what your perfect week, what you want it to look like, right? But you have to take those tasks and put them within your week, that throwing the balance out the window, pulling priorities into the equation and going, okay, how much time do I need to spend on this so that I can still have some bit of an actual life outside of this?
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, for sure. One of the things, it's been a minute since I've showed it to the agents. But when I was in production, the thing that it was like my daily Bible, man. Like, it was the greatness tracker.
Greatness tracker.
The greatness tracker was the thing that kept me on pace every single day, to know if I made enough phone calls, to know if I got enough leads that day. Yeah. So the greatness tracker was kind of what kept me, especially with my ADHD.
Yes, sir.
Like, that thing was what kept me on track.
That's right.
So yeah.
That's
I
right.
can see this.
Yeah. Gotta show it to you. Yeah. It's been a minute since I pulled that thing out.
And then I think the last piece that kind of goes along with the non-negotiables is creating systems. Once you've got the non-negotiables, you are now able to gauge what you need to rev up or down, or adjust or make modifications to, but you don't change those tasks. You change how you go about it. You change the frequency in which you do it. Sure. But then that allows you to be able to gauge what this calendar, what this day looks like as a whole in itself.
Yeah, and then you get to determine, was today a slam dunk? Was today an L? That's right. And that was something with the greatness tracker that I would, there would be my days where I had, zeros. I had a, what do you call it? A
goose egg?
Goose egg. There you go. I'd have a goose egg and I'm like, all right. But you know what? Tomorrow's a new day and I'm just going to double up tomorrow,
That's right.
And it was a motivating, that little form right there it did so much magic for me, man.
Isn't that weird?
It's so weird how just that piece of paper was able, because it's just right in front of you. Yeah. You see it, you're tracking it every day, and and it was almost like a light bulb for me, man, when I started implementing that form, I don't know, 9 years ago. I started implementing that form to once think that I was a one deal a month agent to a one deal a week agent to where it's like, man, that greatness tracker sometimes would have 2 or 3 deals a week on escrow. And it's like, that's what took me to that 10 deals a month type of agent. So that little form can do so much for your mindset, dude. Like, it helps a lot.
And I think the more time that you spend in developing your business plan, the more you can, number one, stand behind it, but the more it actually becomes a promise, a contract, a commitment to yourself. Because if you are doing a business plan because your coach, mentor, boss said, I need you to do a business plan, I can pretty much guarantee that you're not going to take it as seriously. You're not going to treat it and get the feeling that you get when you utilize it. It's going to be a task that you just do. And that task ends up rolling into February and March and never to be seen again until
the next
December rolls around. Time to business plan.
That's exactly what happened to me. Like my brother was just like, all right, we're doing a business plan. I'm just like, okay. Like, it didn't come. This is the first year it's coming for me.
That's awesome.
Like, to actually set this plan in motion. Like, okay, this is my business now. I ventured off by myself. So I've got in the business. I was with my brother. He held me, under his wing. And so this year we we separated, and it's been a huge eye opener to me to be at First Choice for one, like making that decision to come over here and not being with my brother, and then like now taking my business serious, and it's going to take it to the next level. I already know by having this business plan set in place.
Yeah, man. You know, one thing that I think helps with the business planning too, and you kind of touched on it, is obviously making your 2 business goals, 2 personal goals for the year, is the vision boards, bro.
Yes, sir.
Like, and to double down on the vision boards, like you have one vision board at your desk and you have one vision board at home.
Absolutely.
And I tell the agents to this day, my vision board, it's not so much, it's more of an affirmation board that I have in my restroom of all places.
Well,
but that's where I spend a lot of my time in the morning getting ready. Right. You know, and so what I love is my affirmation board of every year the agents give me a big old thank you card with all of them putting cool little notes on it and happy birthday and this and that. And it's there every morning on my mirror. And to see that as that reminder to get my mind right, or to remind me of why I'm looking forward to today or whatever it may be.
That's right.
That gets my mind right. Seeing all those, I mean, there's a bunch of them on there, and it gets me going, man.
And I think
that with my energy drink.
At a certain point, and this isn't everybody, but like for me, being ADD, ADHD, I used to do the vision boards. And then it was like, you know what? I'm just going to make everything a vision board. So as you look around, you got crushing it, mindset.
Yeah.
I refuse to be average. It's just, you walk into my office, it's the same concept. In the bathroom, I'm coming for everything that they said I couldn't have.
With lipstick writing?
Phone number.
That's funny. I have that same thing too around, it's not a vision board or anything, but I'm very into my walk with Christ, right?
Okay.
And so in every single bathroom mirror, everything, I have a scripture written down. It's I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me, and my blessings are on the way.
Amen.
And so like I read that thing, that's like the first thing I see in the morning when I go to the bathroom. Like I see it on a daily basis, and it just reminds me like I got today because God got to me. So it gets my mind right every single day.
I have Isaiah 41:10 on my arm. Fear not, for I am with you.
That's awesome.
So same concept right there. Yeah.
So getting that mindset right, it's spending time in scripture just in general in the mornings like that, just it helps me get my day going. Like it's number one. Like I got all my scripture, too.
Yeah, of course.
Tattoos everywhere. So
But I think the message in this small conversation that we're having is find whatever works for you. And if it works for you, who's to tell you to change it? Who's to tell you to be anything in regards to it? It works for you, Oh, well, I listen to motivational videos every morning. Okay, that works for you.
Yeah.
I'm going to go read my Bible and do my thing,
Absolutely.
But I think the key is to find something that motivates you, that you can do consistently, that adds to this business planning, and it becomes a task that's non-negotiable because I've already gone through it and I've done it without it and with it, and I'm a little bit better with it.
Yeah.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah.
I love that. Yeah.
So JC, how are we doing on time?
We are 1:17 and 20 seconds.
I love it.
It
Okay.
didn't even feel like that.
It just
I
flies
know.
by.
Adrian was like, you're going to blink and it's going to be done. And you're like, oh my gosh, like there's still so much I want to say.
That's awesome. Well, guys, right now, what I want to do is just pop some of these on the screen for you because I've got plenty of them, and I'm going to put them in the description of the YouTube version of this. Bunch of different one-page business plans. Oh, that's somebody I don't care to listen to. One-page business plan. Here's the one from PBD where he talks about your finance, your family, your health, spiritual, personal development, and business. But find what works for you in regards to a simple business plan. Now, mind you, as your business gets larger and larger and there becomes more nuances to it, then it will evolve. That's what I'm going to call it, evolving. I'll also put this link in the description, and this kind of goes through an outline of creating a true business plan, confidential agreement. Why would you do that? Because you're giving out your secrets. For sure. To what it takes to accomplish your goals. Executive summary, business focuses. What is my mission statement? For us, it's more so a value proposition. Business details, professional support, personal profile, those types of things. Your aims and objectives, market research. Have you looked at the data? let's see here. Then you've got your SWOT message. What is your strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats? Notice the threats are there. What's your marketing plan? These things you can go down rabbit holes in order to come up with your business plan. But what I recommend is if you utilize this first, then grab all of the important pieces and put it on something like this to where you can actually utilize it every single day, hang it somewhere where you can see, even if it's in the bathroom, because we know we all do it at least once a day, hopefully. After Thanksgiving, I was like, I'm worried, man.
Only once?
I'm worried. I ate too much. It's
Only
been 2
once?
days.
Sure.
Yeah.
3 or 4 times, bro.
Step up your game, guys.
Healthy. So that being the case, guys, I think there was a lot discussed in this episode here. I'll start with you, AJ. Is there anything that you'd like to tell the folks out there that can bring this thing home for you?
Yeah, man, I would say just to, really focus on creating that business goal and that personal goal. And the reason why I had said yes to the business plan already is I've always, ever since doing business planning, I've always aimed for completing the business plan by the end of the 3rd quarter.
I love that.
So that you can put them into place in the 4th quarter and you can start seeing results in January.
That's right.
And so I would say, granted we're already past that, but let's get it going now.
That's right.
And more importantly, just figure out why you're wanting to achieve this business business plan.
why?
Like
That's right.
identify what your why, and is your why big enough?
Yes.
Right? Because if you don't have that why identified, which most of us have a why, we just don't really speak it into existence of reality of like, oh, this is why I'm actually doing this.
Yeah. Well, I love that you say that. Make sure it's big enough.
Yeah.
And because going back to the idea of your goal should scare the piss out of you a little bit.
Yeah.
Why? Because of your why.
Yeah.
You know?
Get comfortable with being uncomfortable.
I love that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Anything else?
No, that's pretty much it.
Stephanie, your first time on a podcast. I think you crushed it, ma'am.
Thanks.
Truly. Do you have anything to tell our viewers, our listeners out there?
I just get serious about your business plan. It's so important, and you have to do it for you. Your why has to be big enough. And really get fired up. It's exciting. It's exciting to do this and watch your goals flourish at the end of the year. And if not, it's a big slap in the face. Dang, where were you this year?
Yeah.
What do you need to do to get where you want to be?
Yeah.
And also, I've been dying to freaking say this. AJ has been super phenomenal. I'm not kidding. The day that he came into my office, and me and my partner, we have a board where we write all our leads and stuff. And so I have my leads of my hot leads and who I need to keep track with and stuff. And on the side, I started writing down where they came from. Mm-hmm. Was it an open house? Was it a referral? Was it where it was coming from? And AJ's looking at this and he's like, dang, this is awesome. And then he gave me that whole, I would challenge you to dig deeper.
Yeah.
And I'm not kidding you. I get fired up. He left the office and I was like, oh, AJ, you're so awesome. You don't even realize how pumped I get about dang, I need to own in on these things.
Yeah.
Where is it coming from? Was it a past client? Was it a family member, a friend? All of these. I was like, dude, that is so player. Thank you so much.
Dude, and honestly, that's the stuff that fuels me when I'm able to chime in and give some whether it be advice, feedback, whatever it may be with our producers.
Yeah.
That gets me going, man. Cause I'm always looking for, and I talk to the agents about it in the office is I try my best to not leave any conversation without feeling like I added some value in the conversation.
Absolutely.
And it's just already programmed in my brain, whether it's a personal call, whether it's a business call, whether it's a call from one of the agents, it's I'm ending this conversation where I feel confident that I was able to put some value into this conversation.
Absolutely. So that one day you can look back in a presentation that was given by someone else and go, I just said that.
We talked about that earlier.
But the idea behind this business planning, guys, is I'm going to go as far as to say it is essential to the future growth in whatever business aspect you're taking your career. Mm-hmm. Whether you are a self-employed car washer all the way to the point that you are a top producing real estate agent in this great city of San Antonio, you're going to have something that has checks and balances.
For sure.
Holding yourself accountable, making sure that the goals scare you a little bit, making sure that they're measurable, and making sure that you're doing it for the right reason.
Yeah.
That why, it's super important. For those of you that heard this episode and are still kind of like, I don't know about this business planning thing. Every year I do a few classes in January about business planning, and it's called Better Late Than Never, Simple Business Plan.
I like that. I like that.
And every year it's packed house. So be on the lookout for those invites. Love to have more join those so that we can continue to grow that good word of how we do what we do. For sure. Everybody likes to wonder, well, how did you get to where you are? I'm like, pull up a seat. It's going to be a while, and it's going to hurt.
Yep.
Guys, I want to thank you both for joining this. I want to thank you for also being transparent with the journeys that you've been on, because it's not easy to lay it out there. A lot of people, what are they going to think about me? Really like this.
Yeah, no, appreciate it, man. Thank you for having me.
Thank you.
Let's see here, guys. If you are getting something out of this, if you are hearing something that maybe doesn't make quite good sense, reach out, put something in the comments there. We definitely will get back to you on that. Like I said, we're continuing to grow, making real estate and mortgage sexy again, somehow, some way.
We're bringing sexy back.
Amen. Amen. So that being the case, guys, please make sure to like, subscribe, share with a friend. We will continue to provide you with transparent, expert feedback and journeys from the experts, just like we had today. I appreciate you guys for tuning in. Until the next one, catch you later.